Episode 53. $12 pineapple, $8,000 HVAC, $30,000 flawless case, and finding hobby balance. Bonus. Hey, Card Fam. So, this is a monologue episode, and for these types of episodes, I normally do not do what I'm about to do, which is like an intro, right? It's like a monologue for a monologue. But this one requires some explanation, I think, because I recorded what you're about to hear after this intro. I recorded this on the morning of November 17th in a hotel room while I was on travel. And I'm currently recording what you're listening to now in the morning of November 25th, which, by the way, it is Small Business Saturday. So happy Small Business Saturday to all those LCSs and small businesses in the hobby who are trying to make it. Much like, much love, much love to all of you. And of course, to my American listeners, Small Business Saturday, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all centered around Thanksgiving. So, hope all of you enjoyed a fantastic Thanksgiving filled with food, family, and football. Um, I myself may have eaten too much, but it is a holiday that celebrates excess, right? I mean, that's the essence of Thanksgiving. So, okay, back to the timing and the dates. So, why are they important? Or at least why are they important to me enough to mention it here? Well, in the recording you're about to hear, I started off by saying something that a friend in the hobby asked me, and you wouldn't know it because I don't mention the friend, but that friend was Rob, the sports card therapist, and you would know it because I mentioned his podcast name, but I say that one of three podcasts that I listen to is the Sports Card Therapist podcast. And, I want to be clear that this episode is not a rehash of what my earlier episode about self therapy was about. But I wanted to, share the timing of this with you because if I didn't, it would kind of not make sense, right? It's like talking about, oh, I listened to the Sports Card Therapist podcast, but it is deleted, which for a lot of people, including me, just raise more questions, right? Because we've seen other actors just delete all their socials, and so, um, but anyway, speaking of the kind of like that past episode, I really do want to thank those of you who reached out to say that that particular episode resonated with you, that it was real and raw and honest, because that is what I was going for. I really did struggle as to whether I wanted to put that out because, I definitely didn't want it to come off as um, like bashing someone or, kicking them while they're down. But, I was going through things and I'm still going through things. I think currently I'm kind of being much more kind of, I, I'm joking about it, like, talking about the word megabit because it's like if you don't laugh, you cry, that type of thing, right? It is kind of like ridiculous and absurd. But when it comes to putting that episode out there, I thought it could help someone else out going through the same feelings I was going through, and so thank you to those of you who listened and shared words of encouragement. Really appreciate that. So going back to the podcast I do listen to, so I'll strike out Sports Card Therapist podcast. I still do listen to the Hobby with Cage, Sports Cards Nonsense, and I'll just give a shout out to another third podcast, Cards to the Moon. My Korean Canadian brothers up there doing some real great work. And so, but there's like so many out there, but in some ways, arguably not enough, because there's always room for more voices, and I'm of the belief that um, the really good ones will continue to grow and thrive, and we just need more diverse voices out there. So um, I will mention two more. At the risk of offending people because I didn't mention their podcasts, but Wolfpack Network members, right? So Cousins Collectibles, I think that Tony and Oz are doing some great stuff there and consistent and really open as well, and vulnerable. I mean, Iowa Dave, who has always uplifted other people's podcasts before finally jumping into the podcast world, jumping into the shallow end of the pool. Actually, that doesn't sound right because you can get hurt by doing that. But he jumped into the podcast world, and other people who reached out to me saying privately, maybe not publicly, which is fine, but oh, I inspired them to make a podcast or to give it a shot. I thank you. I felt inspired to create this, and then it's great if other people feel inspired by what I'm doing, because I have like no experience doing any of this, but I do love it. So when it comes to all of the podcasts I listen to and the hosts and just any influencer or anything content creator, I at one really early on in my podcast journey, I did kind of look up to these folks and held them to a higher standard, or there were luminaries and I put them up on a pedestal. But now that I've been doing it, the podcast for about 6 months and content creation for about a year, I do kind of find myself more of these folks to kind of like be my equals, and just to be on equal ground or equal standing, where I don't, well, I was up to the whole Rob thing, but I shouldn't hold people up to a pedestal. And just the whole parasocial relationships thing, to say it again. But I hope people don't hold me up to a pedestal, because I just want you to enjoy listening to this podcast along the way. But if going forward, if I am held to a higher standard, just by virtue of having this this Blue Yeti microphone and a small but growing platform, with the podcast or my content, then so be it, because I do want to be held accountable to the fullest extent. Okay, and folks are welcome to scrutinize my hobby life, because I honestly don't see how anything I'm doing is wrong or incorrect. But if it is, I would be glad to learn and fix it, because I certainly, continuously saying I'm a master of none, jack of all trades. I'm still learning along the way. There are people who have been in this hobby for years and years and decades. This is my third time back into the hobby, but it's such a different landscape from the first two times I've been in it. So, I think that's all I want to say for now. I don't want to make an intro for a monologue episode to be even this long, but I just wanted to say all of that. I also, again, it was what you're about to hear was recorded in a hotel room, much different from my podcast studio, aka basement, aka laundry, service room, and all that. I hope the audio quality is not too bad for this one. I listened and I thought it sounded all right, but I didn't want to like delete it and remake it, because it captured what I felt at that time. So yeah, thanks for listening. A friend in the hobby recently asked me, I enjoy your bonus episodes, but I thought you were taking a break after season one. To which I said, yeah, so did I. Um, welcome to the pod. I don't know which episode number this is going to be, but I wanted to just get my thoughts out on this recording. It's going to be a monologue episode. Bonus still, because I haven't gotten back into the rigid structure of the chapters. I don't go back to listen to my episodes, but I knew what he was talking about, my friend in hobby, because the episode where I ended season one was called All Good Things Must Come to an End, and it was a line from Star Trek. The plan was to scale back the podcast episodes, focus more on selling cards, focus more on YouTube, while also maybe scaling back other social media platforms. But here's the thing. I love making these podcast episodes. It's almost like hobby therapy, where in a monologue episode such as this one, I just get to talk. And when it's a guest episode, I get to have a good deep dive chat with a friend in the hobby. I also love podcasts in general. I've also started listening to more non hobby podcasts that I used to enjoy before getting obsessed and addicted back into this hobby. But I still have my go-tos in the hobby. Just to name a few: the hobby with Cage, sports card therapist, sports cards nonsense. I imagine y'all are listening to these, more than mine because they're the big heavy hitters in the hobby podcast landscape, and you should because they're really good. They're really good. There's also Card to the Moon. I mean, there's just so many that I can name, but that's not the reason for this episode. Um, but what happened with not stopping making the podcast is that I did. I missed a decent window to sell cards at the start of football season and then also at the start of the basketball season, or during the preseason of basketball, I mean. Um, I just, we all have a limited amount of time, limited amount of hobby time, and my attention just kept drawing back to creation, right? Content creation, just not just Instagram, not just a podcast, but started writing more, which, I do really enjoy writing. And that's definitely a lost form of content. Arguably the original form of content, the original medium of content before, you know, video and pictures on the internet, books, right? The Gutenberg Bible, just proliferation of information in written form. Maybe the original content is just storytelling orally, but that's what I started doing. What else happened? I ate a $12 pineapple. Times were good. It was the end of summer, beginning of fall. I wasn't flush with cash. I don't think I ever am, but I was buying cards I really liked. Nothing really big, just modest cards here or there. Um, and then our furnace broke. Ugh, it was already on its last legs. 20 plus years for a unit that's supposed to go 15 to 20 years. Throughout the years, recently, just multiple repairs, like one per winter fall season, each time costing anywhere from like $300 to $500. I posted about this last winter. If you go back really a year back into my Instagram, which I don't really encourage anyone to do, but I posted that our furnace broke and that we didn't have heat. So it was time, but it wasn't really expected. It certainly wasn't budgeted. It's hard to budget for, I think, big ticket items like this. A friend, not in the hobby, was like, "Man, you spend that much money. It's like $8,000 plus." And it's like, it's not even a stove or a fridge, or it's nothing like to use a term, it's not a sexy appliance, or you don't get to enjoy it. I mean, you get heat in the house. Oh, and the reason it was 8K is because it was also a replacement of the AC condenser unit. um, Sometimes you would kind of lose air conditioning in the summer, and initially I thought it was like maybe freon loss or something like that, but no, it was an old AC condenser unit. Oh man. So yeah, you get to enjoy it, but it's nothing that you get to really see, right? Or it's not tangible. So yeah, it sucked, but it had to be done. So there goes my dream of buying a case of Flawless Basketball, which I will admit I did the very light research that I did prior to this episode. I looked up before pressing record, and on David Adams' Card World, the 2021-2022 Panini Flawless Basketball first off the line Fodl 2 hobby box case has an MSRP of $30,000. Or if you want to get really precise, a 5-cent discount, $29,999.95. but the Dave and Adams price was $28,499.95. What is that? That's like a discount of $1,500. And then, of course, you can't forget, because you get the pop-up ads, you get $25 off your next purchase of $250 or more if you sign up for their newsletter. And then an asterisk that says offer valid only for first-time subscribers. Sounds like a deal. Oh my goodness. It's just and it doesn't cost the card manufacturers anything close to that to create the cards, right? Card production, manufacturing, um, you certainly got to pay the designers, and you have to pack it up, and you do have, like, I guess, a production or manufacturing plant. You have to pay for the patches, swatches, the autos, but just look at some of the less in demand products, like, say, soccer or women's basketball. I mean, their wax prices are significantly less, right? So it's certainly an indicator of what they think they can, in a way, get away with selling these cards for. So anyway, um, I don't know. I'll put a pin on that, because it's something maybe I want to explore in the future. Going back to the chapter episodes. All right, so this furnace and AC condenser unit replacement, $8,000. Three of these, furnace AC condenser unit replacements, they don't even add up to a case of Flawless. This is the state of the hobby, supply and demand. You know, um, the demand is there. It's still just exorbitant amounts, and I know it's a luxury, top of the line product, but it's just unfathomable almost, because, I mean, yes, do people spend that much money on singles? But you kind of know what you're getting. But it is the ultimate form of high risk, high reward. The supply, conversely, from the demand is there. The supply will always be there. They'll always, trot out these cards in the production line. The supply will be provided in the birth of the card, the origin of the card, in a random number generator state. The pack pull, right? The blind purchase, the pack reveal, um, whether it's personal, you buy it yourself, or, I mean, which is rare. I mean, we're talking like the what are we talking, like the oh, I'm drawing a blank right now, but the people who are able to open up Exquisite or Flawless by themselves with their kids. I can't remember the guy's name for some reason right now. I'm so sorry. um oh, Nubs. Oh gosh. Naz Nubs, Sam Nubs, just pulled it out the last second there. And then the breaks, right? The more quote unquote affordable way. So for those who play high end slots and high stakes poker, it's almost like the cheaper stuff is they don't get a rush. They're numb to it. They're numb to the lower numbers, and for them to feel something, they have to open this. That's how they have to have their fun and have it, make it feel something. Um, and then you have also all the, in a break, all the voyeurs, people who just gawk and just can't believe that something like this is being opened, which I have done. Just, I look at it and go, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I mean, literally for me, $100 box, and I'm stressing over that. Um, what is my one auto of like a small, wax purchase? Um, so, where do I take this? Maybe I'll take a break here. All right. All right, so I remember what I want to talk about, or just kind of going briefly back to that $12 pineapple. It seems so absurd to a lot of people to spend that much on one pineapple, right? I mean, it's 4 times the cost of a regular pineapple. But if you love fruit and you love trying new things, you know, you get to experience something and say that you tried it. And I guess my question is, what's crazier, a $12 pineapple or a $30,000 case of flawless basketball, right? And it's so funny, us in the hobby, where I think a lot of us are like, wow, that's still crazy. That's absurd, to pay that much for, you know, a sealed wax or anything in the hobby, right? A lot of us, we cannot afford that type of risk or that type of investment or, cost outlay. Um, but people do, right? And so I think it's funny. People can look at a $12 pineapple at the store and go, oh my gosh, that's insane. But is it? I mean, in Korea and other Asian countries, it's not unheard of to pay a premium for beautiful looking and incredibly tasting fruit. We're talking luxury fruit. I didn't look this up, but I've seen it, in my not just social media feed, but having traveled to, Korea and other Asian countries in my life, and they put it. We think that Whole Foods is expensive, and it is. I mean, for me, I do not shop at Whole Foods. I got cards to buy, but $100 box of strawberries, $50 grapes, and $200 boxes of apples and pears. I mean, this is just like a small sampling. But this fruit, oh my gosh, it looks like designer fruit or luxury fruit that looks like, it belongs in a food and wine magazine, and that it looks almost airbrushed and not real. It almost looks, like artificial. But the farmers, they grow them a certain way, and they are the most beautiful. And I will say, I've never tasted the $100 strawberries. I have tried, I think, like $25 grapes. They're just like almost like candy. um this $12 pineapple, it was more like almost like red, almost like a ruby red grapefruit. But it was like the best tasting pineapple, I think. I mean, and it wasn't like the life changing. It didn't taste like something that I felt like I must have again. But it was from a pineapple's spectrum of, you know, taste. I've had some really bad pineapple. I've had some really good pineapple. But that's the thing about fruit, is you don't know what you're getting just by looking at it. Oh my gosh, I didn't even have that in my notes, but it's almost like wax, right? I mean, you buy the wax, you don't know how it's going to turn out. It could be amazing or it could be terrible. Same thing with fruit. It's like, yes, you can kind of figure out. I'm actually going to write this down in my notes. The fruit tasting box wax ripping. Okay. Um, yeah, it's like you you can do your best to judge the book by its cover. You can look at the fruit and go, okay, that might taste good. I know some people smell the outside, they tap the outside. I kind of sometimes do it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like other people do it. So I'm like, oh yeah, this watermelon sounds more like a duller gong or something. But yeah, so I do that, and then you bring it home, you cut it open. It's not like you can return it, unless it's like truly, like, I guess, moldy or rotten in the inside. But I mean, we all know, like, we just throw it away, and like we don't go back to return a $2 honey crisp apple or whatever it is, or $3 a pound, and you get like two apples. So yeah, interesting fruit and wax, waxy fruit. Yeah, some of this fruit looks like it has waxy outsides. I don't know. I'm stretching here. Definitely, I'm stretching. Um, so let's go back to. I'm done with the pineapples. I'm done with the furnace. Done with the flawless. Um, just talking about hobby balance. Um, I think, yeah, recently I started, sometimes you just have to do that one listing. For some reason, for eBay selling, I felt like I had to like post 50 cards all at one time in one day, because that's what I used to do, or that's what I was told to do, either for a consignment, or I just, learning things from people in the hobby who've done it longer, and I was like, it's just so daunting. So I did start making some draft listings. I did want to time them. I did want to time them around the 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific type of time frame for them to end. And I finally did it. By the time of this recording, I don't know, I have something like 70 listings up. Took me a long time. Scaled back my Instagram content, delayed some podcast stuff, also had some live stuff like, the furnace. But yeah, I finally started selling more on eBay. I started making trades on my card post, which I do want to talk about more in the future. I don't think I'm going to do YouTube videos. At one, the Chantilly show, I had a lot of content that I wanted to push out and make a full vlog, not just like a intro or before the show and after the show recap summary, but on the show floor. But it's just so much editing, and I don't edit the podcast. I don't edit YouTube. I edit or cap cut Instagram reels that are like 90 seconds. Sure. Actually love doing that too. I love adding little, clips and all that stuff and editing and the captions for 90 seconds. Yeah, sure. But this long form stuff, I think I'll put that on the back burner for now. I kind of, with the YouTube stuff, I know a lot of people say that's the way to monetize your content the most. And that wasn't the reason I wanted to do YouTube more. It was more that I wanted to get to a certain number of subscribers so I could go live on it and maybe even do this podcast live. But I I just don't have the capacity, I guess. I don't have the hobby. In order to have a better hobby balance, I'm going to focus on selling and just do more transactional stuff like that. And yeah, if I had to admit to myself, which I do, I think I've just been too imbalanced. I've been, addicted to posting on Instagram, sharing every minutia and every minute of my hobby journey. I don't even know if some of it's entertaining. Some of it gets, some of my posts get a lot of love and support and comments, and then some of them are just duds. And that's fine. You know, I post it for myself. I am my main audience, and even the duds, I laugh at it and I think it's silly. But it's like it takes time to make that stuff, and a lot of it is not entertaining. But I also want to enjoy the moment, And the thing about content creation, and I'll talk about this in the future, is it's nice to get the see the numbers go up, right? But they're just numbers, and then no matter how good of a post you have, the numbers eventually they stop, right? People move on to the next thing, or it's been consumed like fruit. It's been consumed, um, and you get hungry again and you want to see more. But I do love the Instagram community and the friendships I've made there. I think the best part of having the community and the friends is it's not certainly not the money or the monetization aspect or the all this the likes and the numbers. It's being able to have many more trusted people to deal with, to buy, sell, and trade with, and not just getting scammed by some rando online, which I can talk about in a future episode as well, because I think I'm like 2 weeks away from the anniversary of when this dude just long con gamed me, or maybe didn't, which I'm teasing a little bit, but man, it was a kind of bad feeling. It was my first scam in the hobby, getting scammed in the hobby. So I think I'll keep this episode short. Definitely under 30 minutes, just getting my thoughts out about fruit, pineapples, furnaces, flawless. So that'll be the title of this, I guess, something like that. With regards to my financial involvement in the hobby, yeah, I have kind of scaled back buying cards. The way I get new cards in is through trades now, I guess. But spending more time selling cards online and in person, although in person it is just takes longer, right? It's a weekend. it's a morning of a Saturday or a afternoon of a Sunday, and it's time away from the family. And that's why I don't set up as a dealer, because that's a whole day, morning and afternoon, of sitting at a table. Other financial involvements, it's been in the works of taking on a sponsor or two, but I keep teasing at this, but not actually doing it, and it's not, you know, it wasn't by design. I'm not trying to do that, but I just keep delaying it because I just feel like it's almost like a moment, like, take the analogy being toothpaste out of the tube. It's like once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't put it back in. I do feel that even though I don't think that I'm going to change, I do think that the perception of people, and maybe not people who listen to the podcast, but maybe more people who consume my content on Instagram, who don't know me as well, because I think the podcast is the true self, because it's long form and you get to just talk and really show people who you are. But 90-second reel, one picture or multiple picture carousel slide post, it's so, a person gets reduced to that. And so I think that the people who only consume my content on Instagram, they don't really know the hobby, the real hobby me. They just see, something that's just really quick. So anyway, I think those are the people who are gonna not, or whose perception of me may change, right? I mean, and you can't control this, right? You can't control the way people think of you. But that's something that's been on my mind, I guess, and it makes me hesitant to finally jump into the sponsorship pool, so to speak. I really like where I am currently in the hobby and in the social media landscape. I'm not falsely modest thinking I'm a small fish. I think I am bigger than a small fish, but I'm not a big fish. I think I'm medium fish. I think that I, have some fun, good content out there. Not everything's good, and that's fine. I have this platform for the podcast. Really cool. Didn't exist 5 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever it is. Um, and thank you for listening. I'm just like talking, just rambling here. But for you to listen to this really means a lot to me. Um, Thank you. So I guess I'm going to end it there, talking about fruit and consumption and all that. I really need to find a better way to end my episodes, but that's where my thoughts have run out dry. The well is dry now. I feel good. I feel like I brain dumped everything I wanted to talk about. So hope you have a wonderful hobby day, week, whenever you're listening to this, whether it's once it's published or down the road. Maybe you're listening to this and it's 2024, 2025. But, hope you have a good one. I'm rooting for you. I root for all of us. This is not a zero-sum game, binary, win-loss and all that stuff. We can all win. We can all, uplift each other. A rising tide lifts all boats, all that stuff. So thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you at the next episode. Take care.